Mr. Chairman, thank you for calling this hearing, and thank you for allowing me to testify. I am Chairman of the Budget Committee, as you noted. I am also, and have been for the last 20 years, co-chair of the Textile Caucus. I'd like to focus today on the impact of China's trade policies on textiles and apparel, particularly since China's admission to the World Trade Organization on December 11, 2001. In my state alone, since 2001, we have had 96 textile plant closures in that period of time. In 2009, imports to the United States from China totaled $296 billion. According to the Office for Textiles and Apparel, $31 billion of these imports came in the form of textiles. This means that textile imports make up more than $1 of every $10 in exports from China to the United States. Mr. Chairman, I mention that because if we want to redress the trade imbalance with China, we need sector-by-sector solutions as well as currency and other trade-distorting corrections. 9 years ago, in 2001, Mexico, as a result of NAFTA, was the largest exporter of textiles and apparel to the United States, shipping to us $8.9 billion. At the time, China was importing $6.5 billion to us. Fast forward 8 years to 2009, China is now the largest importer to the United States, or exporter to the United States, with $31.7 billion in textile and apparel products. Vietnam is second at $5.3 billion. Meanwhile, Mexico has decreased from $8.9 billion to $4.1 billion in 2009. And that's happened throughout the Caribbean. China has taken market share away from everybody. Now, what about reciprocity? What did we get in return? In 2009, the United States exported a mere $4.3 million in textile and apparel products to China. That's it. That's in the millions. So much for the win-win benefits of free and open trade. China, Vietnam, Bangladesh, Cambodia, all have experienced a dramatic increase in market share while taking business away from American producers and our free trade agreement partners as well, in buying very, very little in return. The question we need to ask, and I think your subcommittee needs to ask, is how did China accomplish such tremendous expansion in textile and apparel trade in such a short period of time since joining the WTO in 2001? One answer, of course, is the end of import quotas. But a large part of the answer is due to China's use of subsidies, tax preferences, and other trade-distorting measures in violation of its WTO commitments. These practices have led to the closure of 500 textile plants and the loss of over 700,000 textile and apparel jobs in the United States since the year 2000. In 2001, there were 1.1 million U.S. textile jobs countrywide. Today, there are less than half that number. After devastating our domestic textile industry, China has been moving rapidly from labor-intensive industries to more capital-intensive industries such as telecommunications, computers, and automobiles even. And there's no reason to believe that the result is going to be any different in those sectors of our economy unless we have a different trade relationship. That's one reason we need to examine what happened to textiles and apparel, because the past may be prologue. We all know the problem with regard to our domestic and textile industry, but the question is how do we address it earnestly and effectively. According to U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, 43% of all duties collected by Customs and the Border Patrol come from textiles. In 2009, ICE and CBP officials became aware of various tactics to undervalue textile products from China: falsified classifications, underreported quantities, dubious entries on documents. As a result of these findings, ICE and CBP originated Operation Mirage, which resulted in the identification of the most egregious violations and indicate that more needs to be done. The textile industry relies heavily on customs enforcement for fair trade. During the last decade, the industry saw a disturbing and disheartening increase of fraudulent activity, from front companies posing as legitimate U.S. companies to undervalued goods to illegal preferences. Several weeks ago, I joined with several of my colleagues in introducing the Textile Enforcement and Security Act of 2010. It seeks to address these issues and provide U.S. Customs with additional resources and expanded authority to better target the bad actors. The bill includes provisions to establish an electronic verification system of textile and apparel imports about to enter this country, allows the Department of Homeland Security to use fines and penalties to help pay for investigations and training, increases the staff at high-volume ports for textile and apparel imports, oversight of these imports, and establishes a non-resident importer program to ensure that resident agents are held accountable for products imported under their name illegally. It's important to do all we can to protect the 400,000 jobs still left in this industry, textiles and apparel, by doing all we can to crack down on customs fraud and unfair trade. While the industry has seen a huge hit just in the last decade or so, it remains still the third largest exporter of textile products in the world, with over $13 billion in exports, which indicates that given fair circumstances, a level playing field, they can prosper and they can continue providing the jobs they provide. In conclusion, Mr. Chairman, beefing up customs by the enacting this bill, the Trade Enforcement and Security Act, will give the industry a big boost, a shot in the arm that's badly needed. In the long term, however, we need to address the widening trade deficit and all the multiple subsidies, tax preferences, and many other trade distorting measures that China employs to benefit their economy to the detriment of ours. I thank you again for this opportunity.